Welcome everyone, this is Nicole from What CP Looks Like, and this is my weekly Facebook Live chat. We are 8 days into Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month, so it's a big month for us, and I'd like to welcome everyone who's joining me tonight. I have a special guest all the way from the UK. So that's why our chat was bumped up a little early today so that my guest didn't have to be up at midnight to join us. And it's International Women's Day, so I want to say Happy International Women's Day to all the fabulous women who are watching, and especially all the fabulous women who are watching who also have cerebral palsy, because we rock. So I'm gonna wait a few minutes to have some people joining us, and I see that I have a couple people. So Ryan is here, and I think some people are joining us now. So I just wanna say again, welcome to What CP Looks Like. My special guest tonight is Raghoo, all the way from the UK. I'll tell you a little bit about him in a couple of minutes. And as I was just saying, it's International Women's Day, so I want to welcome all the fabulous women who are part of this page, and especially all the women who have cerebral palsy, because we are awesome. So if you guys want to put anything in the comments, let me know that you're here. You can do that, and I'll be sure to shout you out when I can. And during my conversation with Ryan, we're going to be talking about a lot of things, and you guys might have questions for him. So you know the drill. Just put your questions in the comments, and I'll check every once in a while. And if Ryan can answer your question, he will. And if by chance we don't get to your question on the live broadcast, both of us will check the comments later on, and I know Ryan will answer if and when he can. He's really good about doing that. So without further ado, I am going to tell you that my guest tonight is an international athlete. He's a speaker, and he's also founder of Enabled Not Disabled. So please help me welcome my guest, Ryan. I will bring him on, and you'll see him pop up on the side of the screen. So let me invite him in, and he'll join us in just 1 second. Ryan, I know you're listening. It says I can't invite you, and I don't know why. Are you using another device possibly this time? Let me try again. No, it won't let me. I don't know why. Let me try something else. Hold on. All right. Wait, I think I might have fixed it. No. Let me try again. Alert guest request. I don't know. Let me see if Ryan has any comments. Ryan, I don't know why it won't let me bring you on. It won't let me invite you. Are you on? You're on a PC. Yeah, it doesn't work on a PC. It only works on an iPhone, or like we tested your Android phone last time. You can't use a PC. So can you hop back on your phone? Because it'll work that way. Hey, Barbara, thanks for joining us. And thank you so much for always sharing my posts, and you're tweeting them out and sharing my article. The one that I wrote, I did write a similar one originally for the Mighty, and then I published it on my website, NicoleLuongo.com, and it's called Celebrating Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month. And oh my God, guys, you guys blew it up. I don't know, I can't see everyone who shares it, but when I see that somebody shares it, I always thank you, and it's just been circulating and going around, and I really appreciate it because I work really hard on my website. I think Ryan's back, so I am going to invite him again to join us. All right. Hey, there he is. Hey, Ryan.
You're
How you
right. What's up?
doing? How you doing? Hey, listen, I've got my London mug in honor of you that I got at Gatwick Airport. So
Thank you. Thank you.
you're you're welcome. It's International Women's Day, but we have an international guest, so I think that's pretty cool.
Definitely.
Well, as I told everybody, Ryan, you're an international athlete, you're a speaker, you're the founder of Enabled, Not Disabled. And for people who may not know you and they may not know your story, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and how you went from not walking to now becoming a hopeful Olympic athlete?
Sure. So, as Nicole said, my name's Ryan Raghoo. I've got cerebral palsy. A lot of people ask what type, and my answer usually is I don't know. The reason why I say I don't know is because I'm not really sure if it matters. I'm affected in all four limbs. I guess, the background story is I was told I'd never walk. I spent a lot of my early life in hospitals and being carried around, being pushed around. And the big changing moment was my family decided that they weren't going to listen to the medical professionals, and they refused to accept that I would never do certain things. Like they didn't believe in absolutes. And my great grandmother was alive at the time, and she began a very extensive kind of home physiotherapy. But the crazy thing is, she wasn't trained. She didn't go to university or college or anything. She couldn't read or write English. She had no formal education. Somehow she just knew from the heart instinctively what she was doing. So I guess on International Women's Day, we're talking about a woman, and that's the reason why I'm in the physical shape I am today. So
Wow.
I owe a lot to a woman.
That's a great story. And for those of you who are watching, please watch the video. I shared a couple of things about Ryan on the page, and if you haven't seen it, please watch the video because it's very powerful and it tells more about his story. And he's going to also let us know what enabled, not disabled is and the message behind it.
Sure. So Enable Not Disabled is I'd say it's an international movement. Um, it's an international movement to change the way that people look at disability. So I'm not a big fan of the word disabled. Never have been. I find it limiting, quite outdated, quite negative. And the reason for that is if you break down the word disabled, it breaks into disenabled. So you're literally telling someone they can't do something before you've even given them a chance to try. So
Right.
the philosophy behind enabled, not disabled, is to put the emphasis on ability and saying as a society we should be empowering people. So my work covers a lot of different aspects, but it's about basically making the world a better place for all people with disabilities.
Are there words that you personally prefer? Because a lot of words are thrown around, differently abled, special needs. Sometimes it gets kind of cumbersome with all those words being thrown around.
Yeah, that's a good question. I spoke about it in my TEDx talk actually about what we can do going forward in the future and how we educate people, how we change our language. I think different is a good word. The reason why I say different is a good word is because people without medical conditions can still understand the word different. People have different hair color, different skin color, different eye color, different ages, different gender. So if you explain disability in the context of difference, I think it's a better way, in my opinion.
Okay, and I was going to ask you about your TED Talk because I've been wanting to bring you on for a while, but because of
Yeah.
the time change and everything, and Ryan, for those of you who don't know, Ryan is a millennial, and for everybody who says that millennials are not contributing positively to society, please meet Ryan Raghoo because he's smashing it on several different levels, and he really is one of the ambassadors for the cerebral palsy community. At least I feel that way. And actually, my guest last week was Rochelle Heath. She's the one who introduced me to Ryan. So, a lot of us are friends and we all support each other and we just connect everyone. And that's how we're able to come here today and have this chat with Ryan and learn more about him. So, as I was saying, Ryan has been busy. He's a busy guy, and it turns out he just gave a TEDx talk, what, like a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, it was literally 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago.
Wow. And how did that come about, and what did you speak about?
So it was really amazing. First of all, let me just start off with saying I'm incredibly humbled to have been able to share what is essentially my idea with the world. It's really funny. I was speaking about doing a TED talk when I was in Canada, and 2 days after I'd flown back from Canada when I was working with young people with cerebral palsy, I had an email about the fact that TEDx would be coming to my university and that
Wow.
to apply. We had to apply by the 17th of January. I flew back in on the 14th, so it was a tight deadline, and I kind of just threw a couple hundred words together and thought, let's just see what happens. And I got shortlisted, and then I did the auditions and stuff, and I guess they must have liked what I was saying. So the title of my talk was "How to Empower a Billion People," and it was about removing the word disabled not only from our language but from society, and how I think by doing that we can empower a billion people, because globally there's a billion people with different disabilities.
That's awesome. And how long was your talk?
I think it was just under 17 minutes. I was told that I was only allowed 15, but when I was in the moment, I just kind of, it was flowing,
That's
so I
great.
carried on.
We're also proud of you, and I'm waiting. Ryan's waiting to get the video so that he can share it. So that's why you guys haven't seen it on my page yet, because it's not out yet. But as soon as it's available, we're all going to be sharing it. And you guys, when you see me post it on the page, please share it, please, because that's how Ryan gets his message out. And I can tell you, I have a public speaking background, and everybody knows that TED and TEDx and being a presenter for them, it's a big deal. So
Yeah.
I want to congratulate you for, being selected, and they couldn't have chosen anybody better, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm really proud of you. I know that everybody else who's watching is proud of you. All right, so we're going to move on, Ryan, and we're going to talk about now some of the things that I know that you're really passionate about, and I know that you
Yeah.
want to educate people, because we're trying to talk about things that some of you might not be familiar with.
Yeah.
So, um, what's the link between physical conditions such as disabilities, any disability, can be cerebral palsy or any other disability, the link between that and mental health? And if you could you tell everybody what you mean by mental health?
Sure. So, first of all, mental health covers like a massive spectrum from conditions as, like depression and anxiety, right? The way to schizophrenia and bipolar, so it's a massive, massive spectrum. In terms of the link between physical conditions and mental health, there hasn't been a conclusive study yet to prove what I'm saying, but having spoken to literally hundreds of different people with different conditions, I found there is quite a high link. And that can be from as young as, 5 years old. And the reason, usually in my experience, the reason why is because as a child gets older, they become more aware of their physical limitations. So they become aware that in the classroom, maybe they're not as good as someone, or they require help, or there's certain activities they're unable to do. And it's very easily to get depressed when you're unable to do something, particularly if the facilitator, the teacher, or the coach doesn't understand your condition and they're not able to adapt the activity. It leads to people being excluded from activities, which causes isolation. And as we know, when someone's isolated in anything, it's very easy to become depressed. And unfortunately, there's a lot of bullying in the school system, particularly towards people with physical conditions, usually linked to the way they look or
Right.
the way they do certain things. And we all know the consequences of bullying, right the way from mental health conditions to, unfortunately, suicide. So it's a big issue, and I think it's one that needs to be addressed. It's one that I'm trying to address with my work in schools, and yeah, that's why we have to change the school system, basically.
It's a big big problem in the United States.
Yeah,
Really, really big problem. And I agree with everything you said. I mean, I was somebody who was bullied a little bit in school, and I know what that feels like. And plus, any difference that any kid has, like you said, it could be in appearance, it could be in the way that they walk, the way they talk, it could be anything.
yeah.
Anything that's perceived as different, and they get teased, and that could lead to, kids don't want to eat with them, and they're eating by themselves, and they're lonely, and yeah, it really can take a toll.
Yeah, and it's unhealthy, for the individual. It can have some very serious consequences. For me, I was bullied for almost 10 years between primary school and secondary school. And secondary school, I was excluded from sport completely, so I wasn't allowed to take part in any physical activity, which meant I was left out from everything that everyone else was doing, which was a visible marker. So, on top of the fact that I walked slightly differently and I did things slightly differently, I wasn't allowed to do certain things. And for me, what that led to was a lot of body confidence issues. So I wasn't comfortable in my own skin. I didn't like the way I looked. I didn't like the fact I had cerebral palsy. And I actually got addicted to bodybuilding at a young age. So it's not good. And I know the effects of it.
So, how did you go from being bullied for 10 years and having like body confidence issues to overcoming that? What did you do?
So in 2014, I left home for university and I decided that I was going to become like a Paralympic athlete. It was something in the back of my mind that I'd always wanted to do. I always wanted to run free. I always kind of envisioned myself running away from the different barriers that I'd had to face and limitations that people placed on me and stuff. So I went to university, and I guess that's where my life changed because I met a guy who said yes rather than saying no. He took a chance on me, and
It only takes one yes, right,
it
Ryan?
takes one person. Like I'd never run before. I didn't know what I was doing.
Wow.
I was telling this guy I wanted to go to the Paralympics, and he didn't say no, which is kind of crazy. And 3 years down the line, here we are.
And you told him like you'd never run before, and that you wanted to be a Paralympian, and he just said, "Okay."
Yeah, it's kind of a crazy story. I pinch myself. Even now, it's kind of weird saying it. I pinch myself when I hear it. I went along, having been turned away, and I found him and I said, "Listen, I want to do sprints. I've got CP," and he kind of just looked at me because he didn't have any idea what CP was. So he said, "Okay, how fast can you run?" And this was like, what do I say? Because I haven't run. I haven't got a time. Like I can't say
Right.
anything. So in the mind, I'm thinking, do I lie? Do I try and make something up? I don't know what to say. So I just told the truth. And then he said, what's your training program been like? What have you been doing? And again, I hadn't been doing anything, so I didn't know what to say.
That's a great.
And he asked me one final question. He said, what do you want from me? Why are we here? And I remember I told him then and there that I was going to go to Paralympic Games. And I think he was kind of blown away by my determination.
Right.
Um, and he said to me, I'm not going to treat you any differently because you've got CP. And he just said, okay, come to training. And I kept turning up. I kept turning up. And,
Yeah.
you know, we've made great
I
progress.
imagine you. I imagine you taught him a lot about CP because he wasn't familiar with it.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. And what was the reaction of like they're not your teammates, but they're the people that are also being coached by him, and your parents? Like, what did your parents say? Did your parents think, oh, come on, this is just another idea, or did they believe you when you said that this is what you wanted to do?
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, my parents, at first they kind of discouraged me. They didn't really want me to do it. They didn't think that it was a good career. They didn't think I could make it. Being an ethnic minority is not as easy. But also they kind of thought it was a fad. He's gone through different phases and he'll grow out of it. My teammates, well, for them it was a massive shock because all of a sudden they had this guy with CP who was pushing them harder than anybody had ever pushed them in their life. Um,
Wow.
coach never broke me. It didn't matter what the session was, I'd do it. And you can ask him. I was always the last person out of the gym, first person in, last person out.
And where do you think you got that determination from?
Largely my parents. Growing up, I wasn't allowed to say the word can't. It was banned. Like I
Right.
used to say, I can't do this, I can't do that. I'd struggle with something and I'd try and give up, and I'd just get banned from saying the word can't. Like there was a punishment or something when I used to say it, and I think it's gotten to the point where I genuinely don't believe there's anything I can't do. Like I'm willing to try anything and everything.
Yeah, that's a great message, because it really just it opens you up to just try whatever you want and look at what's happened because of that philosophy. I think it's great. And where are you from for people who don't know? Like your ethnic background, because you talked
My
about.
ethnic background, I'm half Indian and half Guyanese, which is Guyana's at the tip of South America near the Caribbean.
Well, we'll tip our hat off to anybody who's from there who might be watching too. Okay, so now I want to ask you, because we talked a little bit about the connection between mental health and disabilities, and I was wondering, how can exercise help people with disabilities and or mental health issues?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't need to quote the research, but there's tons of it out there saying that physical activity helps reduce stress levels.
Yeah.
And nationally, we have loads of schemes that are promoting physical activity for able-bodied people to combat the effects of mental health. It's exactly the same with people with physical disabilities. Doing physical activity is going to help reduce stress levels. It's going to reduce hormones in your body.
Yeah.
It's going to reduce endorphins. And usually, exercise entails socializing. So it requires you to leave your home
That's a good point.
environment, which is something that people don't often think about. But if you are struggling with mental health, it's very easy to isolate yourself.
Hmm.
Um, and it's very easy to get stuck in a rut. It's very easy to get comfortable in your environment and not leave that environment. So exercise forces you to go outside of that, even if it's for 20 minutes. Um, and I think that's really important because it takes people out of their comfort zones, but at the same time, they're benefiting from doing so.
That's true. Yeah, that's a great point. And when in all the work that you do, when you talk to people with CP, do they confide in you and tell you that they also have, you know, a challenge with anxiety or depression?
Yeah, I don't think I've met a single person with CP that doesn't struggle in some way, even if they haven't got necessarily a diagnosed condition. I think a lot of people with physical disabilities, but particularly CP, because we're talking about CP, they struggle in silence. I don't know if the understanding is there yet about the link between physical conditions like CP and mental health. I think there needs to be more work done in that area. Everyone that I've worked with CP has confided with me indirectly, so they've spoken about their feelings about themselves, about their body. But usually, also, I find if someone's got a barrier to something or they don't want to do something related to physical activity, it's because of anxiety about their physical limitations. I say
Right.
limitations because I don't believe in limitations, but they've got this idea that they have limitations.
And how do you advise them?
How do you advise them? For me, it's via showing. So I show them, where I started to where I am now, but also by helping them. For most people with CP who work with me, I'm very different from most of the therapists they've ever had because I've got CP. So I understand what it's like. I've been there and I've done that, and it's a very unique perspective. I kind of just instinctively know when to push and when to give. It's very difficult to explain, but It's something from in here.
Yeah. It's a gift.
Yes, I would say so.
Yeah, definitely. And because we're on the topic of exercise and I know nutrition, goes hand in hand with that, what role do you feel nutrition plays? And specifically to CP, is there like something that the rest of us are missing in terms of vitamins and minerals? Because there are some that are better for us, but if the community doesn't know about it, because our doctors don't tell us anything. I had to research stuff on my own, just like a lot of
Yeah.
other people. So how do you feel about nutrition, and what do you do for yourself and your CP?
Yeah, I don't want to get at anybody in the medical profession, but I'm yet to meet a doctor that fully actually knows what they're talking about in relation to CP. I've met a
They don't even know
few.
what CP is. Most of them don't even know.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of scary with CP being the most common physical disability
Mm-hmm.
worldwide
Yeah.
that so little medical professionals understand what they're talking about. And that's even in relation to physios and OTs. Like generally, there's a lack of understanding about CP. Back onto your point about nutrition, I wrote a post about this the other day asking the question, is
Nice. Yeah.
nutrition as important for people with CP as it is for elite athletes?
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah. I saw that one.
the answer is yes. So I tell all the people I work with CP that they need to treat themselves as if they were an elite athlete. How you feel your body is very important when you're an athlete. How you feel your body when you've got CP is also important.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's so important is because you've got to look at calorie expenditure. So I'm giving away a lot of secrets here because there'll be a lot of doctors that don't know what the hell this is, but this is truth. People with CP expend more calories than people without CP. Facts. The reason why is you've got a lot of involuntary muscle spasms, but not just that. Everything with CP takes longer. It's harder, muscles are tighter, everything's stiffer, and doing movements is more difficult.
Well, they say that we expend like 3 to 5 times more energy. I mean, sometimes the numbers vary, but that's what I've seen. Have you seen some of the same information?
Yeah, I've seen various different studies. I mean, generally, I tend to go with double is a good figure,
What
because not everybody is as active as other people.
what's a good figure? What did you say?
Generally, I tend to say people with CP will expend at least double the amount of energy
Okay.
as
Okay.
people without CP. People with CP that are active, they will expend maybe quadruple that amount of energy.
So how did you adjust from here you were, you never ran before, then you come up with this idea that you want to be a parent Olympian, and then you have to go into training to be able to do that. And I mean, so how did you adjust from I I'm assuming you weren't physically active before that time, or at least not as much. And then you had to go into like full training mode. I mean, how did your body react to all that?
Yeah, well, it was difficult. I used to play a little bit of sport with my brothers before I became an athlete, but it was never anything serious. And then all of a sudden, I was training 5 times a week, and it was crazy. The first few weeks, my body was breaking down every day. Like every day, I was coming home, getting in bed sore, waking up sore. It was kind of like being hit by a train and just not knowing what was going on. And I had to do a ton of research about nutrition, but also I had to speak to a lot of other people in my field of elite sport and find out how they fuel themselves. And it was, I had to make a lot of sacrifices. I'm a guy that likes cake. I had to cut out cake. It's no good for you. I like sweets. I had to cut out sweets and stuff. And it was understanding what you put in is as important as how hard you work in the gym. So in
Mm-hmm.
terms of nutrition, we have a rule of thumb that no food is bad food. However, what the quantities you eat of that food can make it a
Right,
bad food. So every now and
right.
then, if I want a piece of cake, I have it, but I need to know I've put in other stuff that's going to fuel me. And it's about looking at what you've got to do during that day. Is the food that you're putting in going to allow you to do those activities? So food can vary day to day.
So on a typical day for you, what do you eat?
What I eat? Breakfast will be porridge. I swear by porridge,
That's
oatmeal.
oatmeal for the people in the
Yeah,
US watching.
most guys it's oatmeal. The reason why is it's got slow release in carbohydrates, and that's going to sustain you till lunchtime. It's going to give you enough energy to keep going, and it's not going to
Do you
flood.
put anything in it? Do you put fruit in it or anything?
So I like to put a little bit of agave syrup or some kind of nectar, some kind of
Okay,
sweetener.
okay, okay.
Sometimes I'll put in like some blueberries or some raspberries, whatever I've got in the
Good
fridge.
antioxidants.
I actually put in seeds. I put in sunflower seeds, linseed seeds, and pumpkin seeds because it's full of fiber.
Very good. Yeah.
And they're also extra protein. So it means that
Hmm.
you're
Do
putting
you ever
in
try chia
protein.
seeds? Have you tried chia seeds?
Yeah, we have chia seeds. They're very expensive in the UK though.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
But yeah, that'll be breakfast, and I'll have some fruits as well. Sometimes I might even have a fruit smoothie on top of that with frozen berries, frozen banana, and I have like a protein shake that I take. So I add that in. But breakfast is very important. I never skip breakfast. It doesn't matter where I'm
You're
going,
right.
what I'm doing. Even if I'm on the road at 3 a.m. in the morning, I always take breakfast with me. So
You're
it gives,
right. A lot of people skip breakfast, and that's not good. I mean, I know
Mhm.
there are people who say they can't eat in the morning, but even if you don't want to eat a lot, you really should be eating something for breakfast because it's called breakfast because you're breaking the fast. You've slept all
Yeah.
night and you haven't eaten anything. And then if you get up in the morning and then you just don't eat and for another 5 hours or whatever, I mean, you're not giving your body the fuel that Ryan's talking to us about that you're going to need throughout the day.
The thing is, what people CP need to understand is they fatigue a lot faster than people who are able-bodied. So a typical kind of diet will fuel an able-bodied person. That's not accounting for the fatigue that someone with cerebral palsy has. So drinking coffee is not going to sustain you.
Mm-mm.
You have to increase your calories. But it's doing it in the right way. I don't just want people to go out and eat a lot of pizza and Cheetos and stuff. It's about eating the right kinds of food.
No, he's right. He's right. I get a lot of people either on my page or they'll comment to me and they'll say that they have fatigue. And somebody commented to you the other day about fatigue. So that's a big subject. Is there anything that you would want to add about the connection between cerebral palsy and fatigue, and maybe what people can, some simple things they can either add to their diet to help with that?
Yeah, fruit. Um,
Fruit. Okay.
like I get asked this question a lot. Like, what's the secret to how do you? Because I work very long days. I've got 5 jobs. I'm studying full time. I'm training full time. Sometimes my days are like 22-hour days and stuff. And they say, how do you sustain that with CP? And I have a lot of fruit and vegetables in my diet. I'm gonna make a massive generalization here, but generally it's true. You're American, I'm British. Generally, Western societies, they consume a lot of meat, a lot of carbohydrates, and not enough fruit and veg.
You're absolutely right. Yep. Yep.
So if you read like nutritional studies and stuff, they tell you need to eat loads of pasta because it's good carbohydrates, and you need to eat chicken, this, that, and the other. And it's like my diet is 80% fruit and veg, maybe 90% fruit and veg.
Do you eat leafy greens too?
Yeah, I eat leafy greens, kale, spinach, all them types of things, cavallonero. Um, people always ask me, where do you get your protein from if you're not eating meat? And the answer is that's a really stupid question because there's protein in everything. So
It's yeah. I was just talking to Rochelle about that. Yeah, it's true. People, because she was told that she has to up her protein for a specific reason, and they told her to eat a burger. And I said she doesn't really like burgers, and I said, well, if you don't like burgers, there are other things you can eat, either plant-based things that have protein too. So, well, she needed it for iron, but it's a similar topic with that. But what did I wanted to say before I forget? So those of you who are listening, did you hear what Ryan said? He often has 22-hour days. So this guy is on the run all the time, and he's pushing his body to full capacity. So imagine we have an elite athlete who he needs to know what to put in his body so that he can train, and he has 5 jobs on top of that, and he goes to uni, which is university for those of us in the United States. So he knows what he's talking about, and not only that, because he has cerebral palsy, he understands the importance of stretching, right, Ryan? I'm sure Ryan could give us a whole talk just on stretching alone. But for people who are watching us, Ryan, and they're saying, look, man, I'm not an athlete. I don't work out. Maybe they use a wheelchair and they're limited in what they can do. There are things people can do no matter what level of CP they have, the severity, right? I mean, there's a lot out there that they can do.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go back a bit to a point
Go
you
ahead.
made just now. Directly at Rochelle, so she can message me about this later on. If she needs to increase her protein,
She
which
needs
is
to
some
increase her iron. Her iron. So do you
okay.
have any advice for her for that?
Yeah, don't eat beef because the myth that you need to eat beef to increase your iron is absolute nonsense. And there's a lot of studies you can research. I'll put a link in after
It's
maybe.
rubbish. It's rubbish,
Um,
right?
beef has to putrefy in your stomach, so it has to go bad. It
Okay.
takes 8 hours to decompose in your stomach before you can process it.
Okay.
And the amount of protein that you process from a piece of beef versus what you process from a good hearty vegetable meal is a lot less. So she needs to increase her protein. Beef is not the way to go. Um, sorry,
Well,
I had to get that one out.
she doesn't like beef. They told her to eat, just as a quick stop measure to eat a beef right now.
Yeah,
But
that's because you guys live in North America.
well, well, for iron, can you recommend some iron rich foods? I mean, obviously I know spinach, but there are foods that you don't hear about that are high in protein and higher in iron, actually higher than meat, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, specific foods, you've got spinach, kale, broccoli, all those kind of things. Generally, if you eat a balanced diet, you won't struggle with these kind of things. What happens is people don't have balanced diets and then they become deficient.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of minerals and vitamins and stuff, I take a multivit, so I would advise getting hold of a good multivit. Um, there's a lot of trash ones on the market. There's a lot of companies
Yeah.
making money out of stuff that
Yeah.
doesn't exist.
And you gotta watch the protein powders because Consumer Reports just put out an article that there's arsenic in a lot of the protein powders.
So
Is that
that's,
what you?
that's yeah,
Is
that's
that
my motivate. And for us as athletes, we have to make sure everything's sourced from a good company. We have to make sure everything's tested because if we get drugs tested and there's something in the
Oh
stuff.
yeah,
So
right.
I'll put a link in the bio for the company I get my supplements from, so you guys and all
Oh,
your followers
perfect. Great.
will
And I
know.
was going to ask you, have you heard about the link between, I think it's selenium and magnesium? Like those two vitamins, and minerals are very good specifically for people with cerebral palsy.
Yeah, I actually have another box of supplements sitting next to me that are magnesium.
Oh, right. Yeah,
I take a
yeah.
supplement called ZMA. So the main compound in that is magnesium, and that helps with my sleep. So what it
Oh,
does,
really?
it
Because
helps
I
my
know
sleep
a
and
lot
it
of people
improves my
with CP
recovery.
struggle with sleep, Ryan. They do.
Yeah, no, so that's the thing with having CP, you fatigue faster, so rest and recovery is very important. So a magnesium supplement can be very beneficial.
Yeah.
Um, but what I would say
One
is,
one of them helps with like the spasms. Is it selenium or is it the magnesium?
as far as I know, magnesium, I don't know too much about selenium, so I can't comment.
Okay.
But warm baths will help as well, like warm baths with Epsom salt. Those are
Yeah.
really, really good. I tend to tell people if they can get in a bath once a day, that's going to do wonders for their body.
Did you notice a difference when you started training, and even though you were sore, then you started getting used to what you were doing and your body adapted, and then you added in more of the fruits and the vegetables and high quality vitamins. Did you notice a difference in how you felt?
Oh yeah, 100%. So, the body's amazed, they will adjust, but it takes time to adjust. So my endurance has gone up. My physical ability is through the roof. I couldn't even stand on one leg when I started a few years ago. Um,
Now I'll kind of squat and deadlift 170 kilos, which is in excess of 400 pounds. So
Unbelievable. Yeah,
I
people can
don't,
follow you on Instagram. Sometimes you post videos of, short workout videos.
yeah, every now and then I'll put a little piece of what I've been doing in the gym on my page and stuff, just to show people. It's not to show off, it's just to show what can be achieved. And also, if someone's
You're
struggling, they can see, well, someone else has done it. So it's mainly,
exactly.
yeah, it's for that reason.
I mean, you're showing people what CP looks like, and that's the whole point of my page, that
Yeah.
we are capable of a lot of things, and a lot of things that people would think, oh no, he can't do that. Well, yeah, he can. He is doing it, and he's got proof of himself doing it, and you're doing it very well, and that's what I want to highlight. Now, before I forget, the shirt that you're wearing, can people purchase it?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time revamping the website. There's a brand new website. It's www.enablednotdisabled.org. And there's a ton of cool merchandise, t-shirts, vests, polo tops, everything in between. I've got
Right.
tracksuits and leggings, so there's something for everybody, and we ship worldwide. So yeah, definitely check it out.
And just in case somebody were to ask, where do the proceeds go?
So the proceeds go, all of it goes back into the current projects I've got going. So I've got a couple of different coaching projects, but mainly it's about spreading the message at the moment and establishing Enabled as a charity. So my goal for 2018 is to make Enabled Not Disabled a charity. So anything I earn is being put back into trying to make Enabled a charity.
That's beautiful. I want to go back to what you said a couple of minutes ago. You mentioned rest and recovery, and that's another thing that I wanted to ask you about, because it is important. There are people who might think, oh, I can work out and that's good for me and I don't have to take a day off or whatever. But it actually is you do more harm to your body if you don't let it rest. And I was
100%.
interested in your opinion. For people with CP, I would think that's probably more so if you don't rest, but also don't rest too much. You know what I mean? Like some people think they can't do a lot, so that they don't do anything on the physical side, and then they're resting all the time, and that's not great either.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about is balance, and I guess how to find balance is the money question. That's a very individual case, and anybody that's got questions about that, if they send me direct messages, I try and help where possible, and look at your individual kind of case and stuff. The
But
thing
you do recommend that people recover, and like you do all this training and you recover, right? Isn't Do you rest?
Yeah,
Hopefully.
I have off days. Elite athletes have off days, I have one day a week where I'm not doing any training and it's to let my body recover. Sleep is very important, so
Yeah.
I'm
Yep.
not a good advocate for this because I don't do too much of it. I should do a bit more, but I would advise people if you can get good quality sleep, make sure you do. I get in hot water quite a bit. It's the oldest trick in the book. It's been around for millennia, but warm water does wonders for your body. So hot baths
Do
are
you,
very important.
do you use like really hot water or more or
I'll get in like a hot bath and just increase the temperature to as much as my body can take, to be honest.
okay. Yeah, yeah.
The warmer the better.
Yeah. I mean, you're really giving people some really good tips and things that they can take away that they can incorporate. Just try them, guys. I'll check the comments and see what people are saying, because you're really giving them a lot of things to take away. Right now, we don't have any questions right now,
Yeah,
but
that's
when people watch the replay, they'll hear you say that they can message you, because people have said to me, oh, I want to, Ryan, I want to friend him. I'm like, please do, he'd be happy, to be your friend and to connect with you. So everybody who's watching, when you get off this broadcast, I want you to go to his website and his Facebook page and like it. You got to show him some love. Let's get his likes up there. I know we can do that. So let's see what else we have. We have a little bit of time left, and I want to make sure that we go over everything. Well, okay, so now we're on the topic of self-care, which I know you also wanted to talk about. And
Yeah.
I wanted to know what role that plays in your life and what are some of the things that you do to take care of yourself and your CP.
Yeah, so I say to a lot of parents of children with cerebral palsy that this is a condition 365 days a year for the rest of your life. There's no getting rid of it. There's no cure, as far as I know. They haven't found a way to fix brains yet, otherwise I'll jump on it. But there's a lot of simple things that we can do as individuals which will help combat some of the symptoms, and it will help us to progress better, to recover better, and to just generally live more fulfilled lives. So the foundation of everything I do is stretching. I cannot tell people enough how important this is. I stretch every day for about 45 minutes to an hour a day.
Wow.
And all of my clients, like everyone I work with,
Nobody wants to do that.
they've all got extensive programs, and I tell them you have to do it because the reality is mobility can be improved. I've worked with people that have got spastic quadriplegia, right? And they can do very little. And via stretching and massage, by the way, massage is very important. I'll talk about that in a minute. But
Okay.
via the combination of stretching and massage, they have been able to take steps by themselves, which is something that they were told they would never do.
That's great.
So I'm going to make a bold statement here, and you can
Go
quote me
ahead.
on
That's
it.
why we're here.
You can quote me on it. I don't believe there's anyone in the world with CP that I can't improve if I have the time. And I've proven it, and I've spent a lot of time working with doctors and physios. While I was in Canada, I did a lot of work with some physios over there, and my method works. And it's quite common sense, but if more people had access to what I'm saying, I think there'd be a lot of people that would be more able than they are now.
Are you ever gonna, I don't know if you've done this because I haven't seen every video that you put out there, but what about like making a video of you when you're actually, when you have a patient, and you're their physio, and like what regimen you have them go through, and so people can see, like what you do with them.
Yeah, I put a little bit of stuff out while I was in Canada on my pages and stuff. I'm not gonna lie, I'm the worst person when it comes to social media. I really struggle to manage the different
Well,
accounts
because
and
you
stuff.
you would need like 12 more hours in a day. That's the problem.
It's very difficult to make sure that I put everything out, but
Yeah. And what
in
about
the
your
future,
cooking channel? Is that ever coming back?
is it ever coming back? Did you like it?
Yeah, what was it called? I forget, but yeah, what was
The
it?
Naked Chef.
Did you guys hear that? It was called The Naked Chef. Hysterical, but no, he really, he really did cook, and I liked it. I liked it. I
Okay,
did.
I try and bring it back. I try and bring it back.
Cause I cook a lot. I have an instant pot. I don't know if it's a craze in the UK, but
Nah.
it's crazy all over the world. It's a pressure cooker, and I made yogurt in it a month ago. You could do all sorts of things. It's crazy, but I love it. Ryan, I wanted to also ask you, because it's Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month, what do you think the deal is with the media and why our disability just doesn't get any attention?
Honestly, how controversial can I be here?
You can,
How controversial
it's
can I
my
be?
page. You can say whatever you want. Just make the language PG. You can say whatever you want.
Okay, because the media don't care. Um,
You,
the
and why do
media,
you think they don't care?
why do I think they don't care? The only people that really are highlighted in the media, with disabilities are people in wheelchairs or people who are amputees or people that have
Or
got visible
children.
disabilities, yeah, or children.
Or
So there's a few CP children models who have got AFOs or braces or something, but if you look at most of the campaigns, it's about a visible disability. Um, and I
yeah,
think with CP, because it's such a broad spectrum, you can have people that are in power chairs to people that are fully ambulant. It doesn't get covered as much, and there's not as much understanding because it affects so many different people in so many different ways. Um, but also, it's International Women's Day, and this year is kind of the year of the woman, so that's taken priority over a lot of things. But
true.
generally, CP's never had the kind of acknowledgement that it
That's
deserves.
right. That's
And
right.
I think that's probably because there's not really a global spokesperson with CP. Um, well, in fact, there's not really a global spokesperson for disability, period. I'm
No,
trying to
yeah,
I'm
you're
trying to
right.
become that.
It's kind of like a piecemeal thing. Like depending on the disability, there might be a celebrity or somebody
Yeah,
well known that you attach to that particular disability. Well, for
exactly.
you, because you're so well known, is it easier for you to get coverage in the media?
Nah. No,
No.
I wish.
See,
I
see,
wish.
I'm glad I asked you that because people think it's the other way around. Like when I share things that for the advocacy work that I do, sometimes people will contact me and I'll post about it and people will say, wow, like that's really going to change things. No, it doesn't. My blog stats don't change if somebody features me or, it just really does. You can't really predict those things, but I really expected your answer to be completely opposite of what you said. Because I figured
Okay.
here's a guy, not only are you're an athlete, you break records with what you do in the long jump. You're a speaker, you travel all over the world speaking, you have a platform, and yet you have trouble getting coverage in the media.
Yes, I've got two things that are kind of going against me. One, I've got a disability, and two, I'm an ethnic minority. And this is something that isn't really talked about within the disability
Wow.
community. But the only people that kind of get highlighted with disabilities are generally Caucasian people.
Wow. That's a good point. But I was also wondering, like, in today's day and age, I think we've come a long way with minorities being integrated and you see them as the face of being on television and campaign ads. People with disabilities have been featured in like Target ads and other national brands. So wow. And not to mention you're not a bad looking guy, so I would think that would all help you, but you're saying you still are trying to move the needle in that respect.
Yeah, I think I need to have a shave. That'll probably help. But seriously, right? Name me one person that's like black or Asian with a disability that's big time in the media.
You're right. He's right, guys. I mean, he's right. I'm looking through the comments just to see. But yeah, you're right. And you know what? What I find with respect to cerebral palsy is that we see the same stories over and over again. The
Yeah.
same celebrities, the same actors. And I'm not knocking their stories or anything, but that's why I have this platform because I can bring you on. You're not an actor in Hollywood. You haven't been on a famous show, but you're doing important things, and I want people to see that because maybe somebody will see this, who knows, and they'll want to contact you. That's what it's all about because the media is not covering you. So I figure if they're not doing it, I'm going to do it because I have a big mouth and I like to use it and interview people. And, it keeps me connected because I do struggle with being alone. I'm alone all the time. But having this platform, I get to meet people and I get to connect and bring you all together. And that's what it's about. So.
Yeah, if someone's good friends with Ellen, then that'd be handy. Um,
Oh boy, yeah. Have you thought about you could actually write to her. You could like tell your people who follow you, hey, look, write into the Ellen show on your behalf. And if they get flooded with a bunch of letters, you never know.
yeah,
And check
but
her website, Ryan, because a lot of times she will have I haven't looked at it lately, but like for instance, the Harry Connick Jr. He's a musician. He has a show here
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
and he has a segment called Leading Lady, which I'm trying to get on his show.
Ah,
He
nice.
featured, yeah, he actually his first season last year he featured Jamie Watts. She's an adult with CP who has committed to running a certain amount of marathons in within a year's span, and she's been covered heavily in the media, so he had her on. And I've sent him my story more than once. I haven't heard back, but I'll keep trying. But check Ellen's website, because sometimes they have like they're looking for a hometown hero, or however they phrase it, and you can write in and you can have people write in on your behalf.
Yeah, I think, the point about exposure that you made is very important, and stuff like this is great. And I think, within the disability community, we need to support each other more. I think, I don't know, I don't want to get at anybody, but when you look at other movements like the civil rights movement, when you look at the LGBT movement, their communities really get behind them. Um,
Yeah, there's
the
strength in
disability,
numbers, right?
exactly, like the disability community, I don't know whether they don't know about me, I'm not doing the right marketing, whatever, but like it's very difficult to get people on side of you, even if you're doing something that's going to benefit them. Like I've only
Yeah.
got 1,000 followers on a couple thousand followers across all my different platforms, but my work is
Congrats.
in 3 or 4 continents and stuff. So it's like people get famous for doing nothing. I'd rather use.
Exactly. And their pets get famous. There's pets who have their own, social media page, and they have gazillion followers,
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
exactly. I know it's frustrating for me too, because, I have my website, NicoleLuongo.com. I've worked really hard on it. It looks great, but, I'm lucky if I get 32 visitors a day, but because
you're
of my
doing better
latest
than
art,
me.
huh?
I said you're
What?
doing better than me.
Well, no, now my recent article celebrating Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month, it blew up on Facebook. Thank you,
Mm.
everybody. And one day last week, I had my highest views ever in 6 years of blogging, and got 844 views in one day on my,
Wow.
not that article, but in total on my website. It's crazy. And people shared it over 650 times. It's just been kind of crazy. But I just got a message from Tyrone, and he says, "How cool is Ryan?" So Tyrone thinks
Oh,
you're
thank
cool.
you. Thank you, Tyrone.
I told him to friend you because he wanted to friend you. He's a poet with CP, and I actually asked him to write a poem and incorporate what CP looks like into it. He's working on a spoken word poem.
Okay, nice. I used to do poetry, so it'd be cool to see what he comes up with.
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, I wrote a poetry book. I don't think I knew we had that in common, but that's cool. Where there's a lot of poets out there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm looking through the comments real quick before you go to see if there's anything. Barbara says she struggles with her sacrum jamming, and she
Yeah.
thought it might be from her pelvis twisting too much when she walks. She was told that it would take intense retraining 2 to 3 years to correct, and that she wishes that you were in Canada so she could work with you.
Yeah, I was in Canada, Barbara. I was there from December to January, but we're looking at doing another trip, and that's another thing to say. Anybody that's watching, if you would like me to come and, work in your hometown or whatever, if you can get a few families together, then we can make it happen.
Yeah.
In a few weeks' time, I'm flying to Lebanon to
Wow.
work with a 3-year-old of CP. I met them off Facebook. I went to Canada off someone that I met on Facebook. So all of my trips abroad have been families that I met on Facebook.
Isn't it great? It's
So
great.
it's a good platform.
Yeah.
So if you want to make it happen, and we can make it happen.
Yeah. And that goes the same, if anybody is interested in my story and they want me to come on, their Facebook page and interview me, just, send me a message, because I'm having actually a party on March 29th, a virtual party, because it'll be 5 years since my selective dorsal rhizotomy surgery. So I have an event, and I'm inviting people to come to that, because I'm going to have people on the broadcast who have had the surgery, as a result of my article, so they can share their journey, and we're just gonna have fun. And I hope those of you who are watching, you'll come to my party and we'll just celebrate it.
Yeah,
Let me
that
see
sounds
if
awesome.
whatever somebody else says. Robert says he remembers there was a commercial for a news station featuring what they covered, and there was an attorney with an assistant behind him carrying all files, and he had a wildly different gait. He saw that once or twice, but later he saw the same ad. So yeah, I'm not really familiar with that ad, but what I would like to see is that you and I and the people that we know, we don't have to work so damn hard all year long just to get cerebral palsy possibly mentioned once or twice. I mean, every March, it should be automatic, just like it is with Breast Cancer Awareness Month, with Autism Awareness Month, and other disabilities that they have their months. It should just be automatic that we turn on the TV or we open the newspaper and it says, March is Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month. Here are the events in your area, or here's how you can show support or wear green. And for the US, on March 25th, it's National CP Awareness Day and nobody knows anything about it. How crazy is that?
Yeah, it's something that I find very surprising. In the UK, there's kind of very little, even in different media outlets. Like you guys tend to make a lot more noise on social media about awareness months. I think, it's going to take a number of years, but people like yourself, people like myself, people like Rochelle, people like
Yep.
Heaven,
Yep.
um, you know, we have to just keep at it because when I started Enabled Not Disabled a few years ago, I was just an angry kid. And, you know, I had a lot of issues with different things. And now it's turned into international movement and it's gone all over the world. So I do believe we will get there. I don't know the timeline. I don't know how long it's going to take, but nothing that was ever good came easy. And
Right.
that's certainly been my experience in life. Everything I've had, everything I've got, I've had to work for, you know.
Right. Yep. And
So
wouldn't you agree, Ryan, that when it comes to advocacy, sometimes people think they have to do something big. You know, oh well, I'm not like Ryan. I'm not speaking all over the world, or I don't have a podcast, or I'm not interviewing people. That you don't have to do that. You can
no,
do
not at all.
whatever you want in your community. If you write, you can start a blog. If you paint, you can paint, and you can post what you paint on Facebook or whatever. It doesn't have to be a physical activity. Whatever strengths that you have, use your gifts, and if you want to use that platform as a way, to raise awareness, you can do it.
Yeah, I think the thing is as well, sometimes people struggle with time, but if you struggle with time, you can just like repost other people's stuff. Like you don't even have to create your own. There's a
Right.
lot of people saying positive stuff like yourself, like myself. Um, so if you don't have the time to start something by yourself, tag on to what someone else is doing because
Yeah, just
usually there's
retweet
someone
it
else
or
doing it.
reshare it. Yeah, but the only thing we ask, guys, if you do that, please make sure you credit the original poster. Because believe me, as an author who's had my work has been stolen many times, trust me. It's like if you worked at a job and you were in a meeting and you had an idea and you told your coworker about the idea 5 minutes earlier, and then in the meeting she brings the idea up, she stole your idea. It's the same thing. You wouldn't want
I
that to happen. So,
I give up on the amount of ideas I've had stolen that I give away.
oh, it's terrible, isn't it, Ryan?
But for me, I guess I'm so passionate about this that it doesn't matter. Like people can, say whatever, but it's about the long term for me. So
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah,
either
I don't let
do.
people get away with when they steal it and I find it, because I mean I had to consult an attorney to find out what my rights are, and I've had my content taken down when it's been stolen. So,
Yeah,
but I want to thank you. I know it's late where you are. We're already 5 minutes over time. I mean, if
that's
you
all
want
right.
to talk for a couple more minutes, we can, but I know it's late where you are, so I want to be respectful
Yeah.
of your time. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on before we go?
Yeah, now we've got another 20 minutes if needs be to carry on the conversation.
I'm game for that. Hey guys, those of you who are listening, put in the comments. Do you want to hear what else Ryan has to say? Because I'm sure he's got some more truth bombs to tell to give us. But yeah, what else do you want to talk about?
A lot of people say, how can they help, right? Like someone might ask, how can they help you? How can they help me? And then the reality is, by supporting what someone is doing, you will give them encouragement and motivation to carry on. So I think for anybody that is an activist or they're trying to achieve something, you have days that are difficult to, keep at it and stuff. And
Yeah.
it's seeing that your work has an impact, that gives you the motivation to carry on. So if someone likes what I'm saying, tell someone about it. You know,
Share this
share it.
when this video posts, share the post.
Particularly if like, I share a lot of tips and information that's useful for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Um, I share it because I think the more people that know about it, the better. So if it's gonna
Yeah.
help you, chances are it's gonna help someone you know as well.
Yeah.
So
And education is power. The more you know about, anything, you can improve your situation. And I think that's what we're trying to do in different ways. And
Yeah.
well, people are saying they want to hear more truth bombs, so
Well,
well, but
what would
let's
you like
let's
to
go
do?
back to what I post. I shared one of your posts the other day. Ryan is going to say something else that's controversial. He says that people with cerebral palsy were not eating enough sugar, but no, he's not talking about cookies and cakes.
Yeah, so when you look at recommended diets, sugar is something that's always everyone's told sugar's negative. Same thing with salt. Sugar and salt, avoid sugar and salt. Um, and with CP is kind of the opposite. So sodium is well known to help with muscle cramps and muscle spasms.
Because of the iodine, right?
Yeah, I mean, like people say they can't afford Epsom salt. So if you just take the cheapest salt you can buy, and you put in a hot bath, it's gonna do your body good. It's gonna help with your relaxation. So,
How long do you recommend people soak in that, Ryan?
20 minutes, half an hour. Um, and if you want to know the research behind kind of why you should increase your salt intake and why you should increase your sugar intake, if you look at athletes, elite athletes, the drinks they drink, Gatorade, Lucozade, the basic components are water, sugar, salt, and some flavoring.
Yeah,
Um,
that's all
but
Gatorade is. They did say it's electrolytes, but yeah, it's a lot of food coloring and
yeah,
sugar in there.
so you can make your own electrolyte drinks just by adding a spoon of sugar and half a spoon of salt to some water with your
Interesting.
favorite squash or whatever.
Barbara
Um,
says Barbara says she's a salt fiend and she always thought it was bad. Well, you don't. It's everything in moderation. I mean, you don't want to. You don't want to. You know, ingest too much salt because
no,
then
no, no.
that'll cause another problem. But
Yeah, no, you don't need to drown your food in salt. But a few years ago, I was struggling with blackouts. I used to just black out randomly, and
oh,
no one could understand why. And we went to this world-class testing facility, and they spun me upside down, and they tried to induce a blackout and different things. And the solution was that I would drink isotonic drinks. And isotonic drinks, if you can't afford it, are salt and sugar. So we couldn't afford for me to drink 3 or 4 different Lucozades a day, but you could put sugar in water and drink it. So that's
wow.
where this is coming from. In terms of salt, like, yeah, don't drown your food in it, but it's just something to be conscious of. It's not something that I want everybody to go out tomorrow and start, eating spoonfuls of salt and stuff. Um,
No, but there are benefits to iodine, and
yeah,
a lot of people, if they're using salt, they're using the salt that doesn't have iodine, so they're not, at least in the U.S., so they're not getting the benefit of the iodine. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. Do you still have the blackouts, or and if you don't, what did you start drinking the solution that you just told us about to get rid of them?
yeah, I haven't had a blackout in over 7 years, touch wood.
Wow. Yeah. Like, so what did you do? Did you?
I used to drink about a liter worth of water with sugar and salt in it a day, and I increased my sugar content and my salt content ever so slightly,
Wow.
and it meant that I wasn't getting dizzy and I wasn't having any more blackouts. So yeah, it's definitely been a game changer for me.
And that's something we didn't talk about. I meant to ask you, drinking water is very important.
100%. It's the best thing for your body. There's no
How
other.
much do you drink? Because I bet you drink a ton, and people are gonna say, "Oh no, I can't do that." But how much do you drink a day?
Honestly, not enough is what I'm gonna say. I would like to be drinking between 2 to 3 liters of water a day. I probably do drink that, but at least 1 liter of that is coffee. So that's not a good way to do it. I'm a bad example. Um, but I do
Oh,
drink a lot of water while I'm training, and a lot of my drinks around training are water based. So I drink BCAs, I drink my protein and different things, and that's got a lot of water in it. And I eat lots of fruits, which
yeah, which
have
has the high
water.
water content in the fruit. Yeah,
Just
I've been doing something that Rochelle told me about. I added cucumber to my water, and it's okay. I want to try like with strawberry because I think I might like the taste better. But that's what I've been drinking just to add some flavor to my water. Because I know a lot of people they don't like just water because it doesn't have any flavor. And me, I don't mind it. I can drink it, but if I can add something to it, I will.
Yeah, Kayla said that water makes her choke. What I'd say is if you don't like water, add some squash or add a fruit dilutant, like maybe some syrup, like orange syrup or blackcurrant syrup or whatever. And that would just add some flavoring. There's
Yeah,
nothing
because
really wrong with flavored
yeah,
water.
because now people have like if you have any essential oils are really popular, and you can add, lemon essential oil or whatever, peppermint or something if you want something like that.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, if people are eating enough fruits, then they'll get water from their fruits anyway.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it's true because a lot of there's
you know,
some fruits that have higher water content. Yeah,
yeah.
yep, it's true. So before we move on, guys, do you have any specific questions for Ryan? Just we'll give it a break a little bit, and in case anybody has a question about anything that he said so far, and it'll give us a chance to kind of answer your questions. I told you guys that when I brought Ryan on that like there's a lot we could talk about. I mean, if Ryan wants to, he knows he has a standing invitation to come back anytime because a lot of these topics we could talk for a half hour or more on one of them. But I wanted to give you a well-rounded view of a day in the life of Ryan Raghoo, and he does a lot. So, Barbara says, "Is there a video of your stretch routines available?"
Not currently, but there can be one made if she would like.
Yeah, Barbara, hook up with him, send him a friend request, and he will respond to you. Like he said earlier, then he can learn about people one on one and see, how he can help you. So do that. He'll definitely respond.
The only reason why I don't put my specific structures out there is because for some people it's not always realistic or it's not relatable for them. So depending on how you're affected and what type of CP you've got, but also how your mobility is, the stretches
Yeah.
I'm doing might be too advanced or they might
Yeah.
not get the desired effect for what you're looking for. So
Yeah.
you can always look at individual stretching programs. One of the things I'm starting to get into is online coaching and different things. So
Right. There you
it's
go. Did you hear that, guys? He's going to be starting online coaching. I know a lot of you have expressed interest in Ryan, so watch out. Go to his page, make sure you like it so you get all the updates about what he's doing. And Ryan, the one question that I always like to ask my guests is, what does CP look like to you?
what does CP look like to me? When I look in the mirror, I don't see someone that can't do something. I don't see someone that struggles. I see someone that's strong, someone that's powerful, someone that's confident, um, someone that's ready to take on the world. And people that know me, CP is not the thing that defines me. If they were to say, tell me one thing about Ryan, it wouldn't be he's got CP.
Yeah, definitely. And just remind people, how old are you? And I have to say this again because it's amazing what you've done in a relatively short amount of time. Did it freeze on me? It might have. Let's give it a chance to come back. But while we're waiting for the video to readjust on Ryan's side, isn't Ryan great, guys? I told you it would be. If you have already friended him, it looks like he had to probably log off and log back on. So I'll wait a couple of minutes and I'll invite him back on so that I can give him a proper send off. Here, let me invite him in again. So, all right, Ryan's gonna be back in 1 second. Welcome back, Ryan. I was just saying to everybody that you're a great guest, and like I told everybody, we were excited to have you on. So, what's next for you?
What's next for me? Turn off. I can't hear. What's next for me? At the moment, I'm focused on the national championships. We've got wheelchair basketball tournament tomorrow or Saturday, so that's the big focus.
Are you competing in that?
Pardon?
Are you competing in it?
Yeah, my university. I play for the university wheelchair basketball team as well.
Okay. Well, good luck.
But in terms of the future, my big focus is Tokyo. That's the plan is to be there in 2020.
Awesome.
That'd be kind of the crowning moment. But also, my TEDx talk hopefully comes out on video soon. So
yeah,
the big goal with that is to get 1 million views because then it goes on the TED platform, and then that just opens up a whole different.
What does that mean? Does that mean you can give another talk?
And what that means is if it gets 1 million views, then it will go on the TED website.
Oh, okay.
So all the kind of very good talks go on the TED website, and then if your talk does well and people on the TED website like it, then you could get invited to the main TED conference.
Right. Well, I'll do everything I can to share it. And do you have a YouTube channel? Because then you could put it up on there, can't you?
Yeah, there's one platform that I'm not currently on. I want to really start getting into the YouTube world and start putting out different things. I wasn't sure if people would kind of watch it or, if there's a need for it and stuff. So I need to find out a bit more if what kind of content I want to put out and what kind of stuff people want to hear from me because I'd like to think I have a lot of knowledge that is worth sharing, and it's whether people want to hear that and how they want to hear it.
Yeah. It's a kind of thing where you just have to keep sharing it and putting it out there, and then, one day it'll just catch on, sort of thing. I mean, that's what I do. I just keep doing what I do 7 days a week. If someone sees it or they don't, I just keep doing it. Hoping that somebody will take notice of what I'm doing. I've tried to make my platform unique because if we're all doing the same thing, then maybe nobody gets coverage if we're all, so that's why I decided to do interviews because that's something that I'm good at. It's a strength of mine, and I don't really see a lot of people doing that, focusing in on sharing people's stories because we can all visit Facebook pages and see people on social media, but that just gives you a glimpse into somebody. Everybody's in this fast-paced world where they're getting bombarded all the time with, news and technology and social media. But I think sometimes we just need to slow down and get back to the basics and have a conversation with somebody.
Yeah, definitely. Conversations are important. There's some good questions coming up in your feed at the moment, actually, from Ola.
Okay. Do you want? I'm sorry, I'm not doing my job.
That's all right. That's all right.
So what anything that you, let me see. Which one?
Kayla's got a lot of good questions.
She said, did you go to therapies or do you just work out at home? That was one of her questions.
Yeah, so right now I don't have any therapists. I am my own therapist. But growing up, my early childhood was a blur of different therapies. Being honest, different therapists that didn't know what the hell they were talking about. So my greatest therapist is my great grandmother. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
She was a phenomenal woman. She just when I was told I would when my family were told I'd never walk, she just wasn't accepting it, and
She was ahead of her time,
she was
Ryan.
ahead of her
I
time.
mean,
And we were doing extensive therapy every day, 5 to 6 hours a day. And people say,
what age were you when you walked?
can't remember. I think three. I think I was walking independently at 3-ish, but I don't think I could walk very far back then. To be honest, I don't really remember much of like the early years because
Because you were in a wheelchair for a long time, right? Like, how old were you when you got out of the wheelchair?
yeah, we had a buggy actually, but there was a wheelchair, but we used to use a buggy because we didn't really like the wheelchair. We didn't like the connotations that came with being in a wheelchair.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
was this massive kid in a pushchair. Um, it's kind of embarrassing actually now that I think back on it, but up until the age of 8, I was still going everywhere in a buggy and stuff. And then I think, we stopped carrying it around when I was 11. So it was quite a long time, quite a long time.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I've so enjoyed having you on. And just before you go, can you just repeat what type of CP do you have? What degree is it? And have you had any surgeries?
Yeah, I've got what have I got? I've got spastic quadriplegia, um, and I think I've got dystonic cerebral palsy. I haven't read the notes in years. I'll find out if people really want to know. Um, but my CP affects me in all 4 limbs. My lower body more so than my upper body, and the right side of my body a lot worse than the left side. Sorry, I got that completely wrong. The left side worse than my right side. Um,
Would you say your CP is mild or moderate or?
I'd say it's mild now, but it wasn't always. I'm a very rare and unique case of someone that's gotten a lot physically better without any medical intervention. So I
Yeah.
haven't had any surgeries, and I've gone from someone that was told I'd never walk to being,
Wow.
a full-time athlete.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'd like to thank you again. And like I said, I have my London Cup in honor of you. And we salute you. And everyone's going to go and they're going to like your page, enabled, not disabled. Check out his website. He put it in the link. If he hasn't, we'll add it, enablednotdisabled.org. And Ryan, where can people follow you on social media, on Twitter and Instagram?
Yeah, so Twitter, it's enabled_change. So enabled in capitals and then underscore change. And then on Instagram is at enabled not disabled. So
Okay.
those are the enabled pages. If you want to follow like my personal page, which is more about my life as an athlete, um, my personal pages are T36 Ryan. So the letter T, numbers 36, and then the name Ryan.
Yeah, and you can add any of those that you want in the comments, if you want to add them. And are there any final words that you have for CP Awareness Month? Any last inspirational thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. I don't believe in absolutes. So I meet a lot of people with CP that are told they will never do something, they'll never do certain things, and I just don't believe in that. We don't know what things would be like a year down the line, 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. So for everybody, whoever's watching this or whoever will go on to watch this, whatever your current predicament is, that doesn't mean that's how it's always going to be. I would say never stop trying to improve things because I've never met someone that can't be improved.
That's right. And never stop learning, because you posted how many books you read, and you're always educating yourself. And I'm a firm believer in that, because we know that we can't rely on our doctors to give us the information because they don't know. So the older we get, that becomes even more important.
Yeah, I'm gonna be writing a book at some point about my philosophy around CP.
Yay!
So
There you go.
look out for that.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, it's been great. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing your time with us. I know how busy you are, and I know that it's late where you are too. And I hope you keep in touch. Let us know what's going on, and as soon as the video comes out, let me know, and I'll share it. And if you ever want me to come on, your page, and we can talk there, we can do that too. So that's always an option.
Yeah, we can do round 2 soon, definitely. And thank you for having me on.
It's a pleasure, Ryan. Take care.
All right, take care. Bye.
Bye.